Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm here to tell you guys my favorite films of 2020. I know that I always say that I'm going to come back after I make these videos, but then I end up not doing so. I only uploaded one video in 2020. One. Where I made a trailer mashup of Harry Potter with the Snyder Cut of Justice League trailer. That's the only video I released on this channel in 2020. The last time you guys saw this face was in 2019 when I did my best of 2019 video. Now we're in 2021, and I'm here to tell you guys my favorite films of 2020. The year overall was terrible. Horrible events, just emotionally draining, physically draining, really depressing year for a lot of people. In terms of films, a lot of really good stuff came out. Even though theaters were closed, even though a lot of films got pushed back, there were a lot of really wonderful independent darlings that came out in 2020. And I was gracious enough to see a majority of these acclaimed films. There are still a lot of films from 2020 that I never got around to watching. But I sat down to make sure that I was very comfortable with this list, even though I know that there are probably some films I would have seen that I probably would have placed on my top 10, but due to the unfortunate circumstances, I couldn't get around to seeing everything. Busy personal life, I'm working, trying to stay healthy, physically and mentally. I was fortunate enough to make time to watch a whole bunch of movies throughout the year. So, before we get into the list, and before I mention the honorable mentions, I just want to say one thing. This is my personal list. This is my opinion. If you don't agree with my list, that's totally fine. If you do, great. If you don't, not a big deal. Don't bash me for expressing my opinion on the films that really moved me as a filmmaker, as a fan of film, and as a person in general. This is my list. Deal with it. Thank you so much. Anyway, let's get into the honorable mentions. The Invisible Man, 14, Pieces of a Woman, Time, Shirley, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, Happiest Season, Minari, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, The Trial of the Chicago 7, The Assistant, The King of Staten Island, The Boys in the Band, One Night in Miami, Hamilton, yes, I'm counting it. Please don't judge me. This is my list, damn it. And lastly, Lovers Rock. I had to include at least one thing from Small Axe on here, and that's the one I'm going to pick. Lovers Rock is the last honorable mention. These are all films that I really struggled to not put on the top 10 lists. That just shows how great of a year 2020 was for film. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into my top 10 favorite films from 2020. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Nomadland, a film that I already know people are going to be so ticked off that it's at number 10. I'm sorry. Oh, please don't kill me. Nomadland contains one of the best performances of the year in Frances McDormand. You've heard all the praise about it. You've heard all the acclaim, all the award buzz surrounding her, and it's very well deserved. The film itself is pretty marvelous. Chloe Zhao directed this. I had never seen anything that she has directed prior to this, but I was absolutely riveted by the simplistic story here, following this woman and her journey. Feels like a documentary. It feels like you're watching, a real person. And a lot of the actors here are real people. Cinematography is striking. It's a gorgeous movie. It's a very calm, relaxing movie. You may say that not a lot of stuff happens throughout this film, but I was so riveted by the story simply because of the beautiful writing and direction by Chloe Zhao. The imagery, the acting, the pace of it was just so relaxing. I was so in awe when I was watching this. It really is disappointing that it's this low on my list. But as the months progressed, I saw more films that I appreciated just a bit more than Nomadland. But this is one that I highly recommend. It's not coming out until February. I was fortunate enough to see it back in September at the New York Film Festival, virtually, of course. And I'm very grateful. I truly am grateful. I'm excited to see what Chloe Zhao does with Eternals. I cannot wait to see her stamp mixed with Marvel. I'm really hoping it turns out to be good. I'm really optimistic. But I was a big fan of Nomadland. I saw it twice. luckily, and I was blown away both times. And I cannot wait to see it for a third time, hopefully in theaters. I really want to see this on the big screen because, oh my god, when I tell you how gorgeous it is, you're going to be blown away, truly. Nomadland is fantastic. Sound of Metal contains one of the best performances of the year in Riz Ahmed, who shines as a heavy metal drummer that begins to lose his hearing. That premise alone is absolutely heartbreaking. When I was watching this film, I kid you not, I was a mess throughout most of it because of how emotionally depressing it was to watch. Riz Ahmed, Olivia Cooke, and Paul Rachi? I'm trying to remember if that's his name. I really hope that that's his name. I hope I'm right. There was something about this film that also felt like I was watching real life people, because this character of Ruben, he's a very troubled character. He starts off, he's sober, and he's doing very well with his girlfriend. They're a two-person band traveling around the country. They may not have the success that they want to, but they are still fairly popular. They have a nice, dedicated, small fan base. And then just as they are progressing to fame, Ruben goes through this terrible tragedy. And it's so devastating to watch unfold. As the film progresses, it gets more depressing, more depressing, more depressing. And then you think to yourself, okay, there's going to be a nice moment here. And then it just gets depressing again. This film also contains one of the best, if not the best ending of the year. So beautiful, so moving. I was speechless when I was watching it. And when it ended, I'm just like, oh my god. Like, mind blown, truly. The guy who directed it wrote Place Beyond the Pines, and this was his first time directing. Absolutely blown away. One of the best directorial debuts of the year, without a doubt. I cannot wait to see more work from this guy. Riz Ahmed, please give him an Oscar nomination. Olivia Cooke's incredible. Paul, whatever his name is also fantastic. I loved Sound of Metal. It's available to stream right now on Amazon Prime, so please check it out if you haven't seen it already. The Five Bloods is another excellent effort from Spike Lee that manages to be timely with what's going on today. Without questioning, it contains one of the best performances in the Spike Lee movie in Delroy Lindo, who has to be nominated for an Oscar. The rest of the ensemble surrounding him is also euphorically great. The dynamic between the four gentlemen headlining this film is outstanding. Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, such a terrible loss in 2020. This and Ma Rainey's Black Bomb showcase that this was a really wonderful year for the guy. And this shows that he has the possibility of getting not one, but 2 Oscar nominations. 2. That's incredible. Very well deserving. Beautifully shot. Very timely discussions. Very, very violent. Very terrifying to watch. Subtly hilarious. Very endearing at the same time. Just a mix of so many things going on in this 2.5-hour long epic. The war sequences are incredible. The battle sequences are fantastic. The imagery is gorgeous. I love the sequences where we see the landscapes of Vietnam and the jungle. I think the story of having these 4 veterans go back to Vietnam to find treasure that was buried by them and their leader, who had passed away 50 years prior, that's such a cool premise. That's awesome. And Spike Lee, once again, he's just so great at what he does. He's great at giving us these stories that are so timely, but yet they're exciting, they're smart, they're clever, they're very informative at the same time. He's a genius, and I love the guy so much, and I cannot wait to see what he does next. The Five Bloods is an excellent achievement. It's available on Netflix, so please check it out. You're going to be hearing about it a lot throughout the award season if you haven't already. Please do yourself a favor and support this film. Thank you very much. Bad Education is an interesting film for so many reasons. For one, the fact that it's a true story is absolutely insane to believe. The performances across the board are phenomenal. Hugh Jackman gives the best performance of his entire career. If this was a theatrical release film, I guarantee he'd be up for an Oscar. Allison Janney, just as good, if not better. Another really excellent performance from her. Ray Romano, like, oh my god, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, they're gonna hate me now. Every single person is great. This film is filled with so many laughs, so many WTF moments. It's a shocking film, but it's also super entertaining, and yet it's very informative as well. And when the film ends and it tells you what happened, it shocks me truly that this is how things went. But no, the directing, the writing, the acting, everything was so well done. Very quickly paced film. Never skipped a beat, never dragged, was always engrossing from start to finish. Absolute big fan of Bad Education. I'm happy that it won all these Emmys, but it would have been nice if this was considered for Oscars as well. I understand why it isn't, but let me just say, if it were eligible, I guarantee it would do pretty well at the Oscars. These kinds of films, I love. I just love true story films, but when they're this insane, absolutely incredible. Cannot wait to see what Corey Finley does next. Wolfwalkers is one of the best animated films I have watched in the past decade. First of all, the animation is absolutely breathtaking. You cannot take your eyes off screen when you're watching this. This is a very richly detailed movie. The story is so beautiful and so moving and so unique. It felt like a mix of 90s Disney with Studio Ghibli, but it felt like its own thing, if that made sense. I was in love with every single character. I loved the voice cast in this film. I was so moved by this film. I got so emotional throughout it. I was like, Jesus Christ. I was not anticipating this level of sadness from me. I was not anticipating this whatsoever. Wolfwalkers is just so moving and so powerful, and the story behind it is just so cool. And I don't want to get into it just in case you guys don't know what this is about, but it really is an emotionally resonant animated film. I know that some people watching this video are going to be like, oh, of course you don't put this as your favorite animated film of the year, and instead you put the cliched answer as your favorite animated film of the year. Believe me, it was tough. They were going back and forth. It was really hard for me to decide which one I want to put over the other. But Wolfwalkers, absolutely incredible. It's on Apple TV Plus, which is unfortunately a service that not many people have because, to be fair, there's not really a lot of content there right now in terms of films. But I would say it's worth signing up for a free trial just to watch this movie, because when you watch this film, you're going to be like, I wish they made more animated films like this. I want more 2D animated films. I want more emotionally resonant animated films like this. I want more layered animated films like this. I want more films like Wolfwalkers to exist. And I'm so blessed it exists. I'm really happy I got to see this film before 2020 ended. And I cannot recommend this film enough. Wolfwalkers, please check it out. Support animation. Support 2D animation. Just support good filmmaking. There you have it. My favorite foreign film of the year is Another Round. Mads Mikkelsen's performance, that dude can act. He can really act. He is awesome in this film. I really love the premise behind this film. The fact that these 4 high school teachers decide to just, test out an experiment regarding alcohol. That's all I'm going to say about it without getting into the nitty-gritty of it. But, oh my God, this is a tragic comedy that's able to balance the humor and the emotions so seamlessly. When films combine different genres into one, it could be so jarring, but Another Round isn't that at all. It works for what it's going for because of the directing, the writing, the acting, all that. It's so interesting to see this kind of perspective when it comes to drinking. This is the kind of film about alcoholism that I was never anticipating to see, because when you watch a movie about alcoholics, it's very depressing. But this is a very entertaining, fun film. But when it gets serious, it earns those moments. And then it has, in my opinion, my favorite ending of the whole year. Let's just say that if Mads Mikkelsen is in the movie where he dances his heart out to any song, I'd be down for it. Cast him in the musical. Cast him in Mamma Mia. Cast him in something that is so ridiculous where he could just dance his heart out. Listen, if Fantastic Beasts 3 does not have a dance sequence where Mads Mikkelsen is dancing his heart out as Grindelwald to whatever music there is in that movie, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to say, I want my ticket back. I want a full refund. Another Round is really wonderful. I could see this being the international feature winner of the 2021 Oscars, and it's rightfully deserving. This is one that really stuck with me. It's available to rent right now. It's worth watching for the wonderful performance from Mads Mikkelsen, the great screenplay of meshing comedy and drama with one another, and then that ending, of course, is just... I've been listening to that song on repeat for days. Days. Another Round. Please check it out. You won't regret it. Soul is the best Pixar film in a very long time, in my opinion. Pete Docter is my favorite storyteller that has worked with the company. And you may be like, really? You like him over Brad Bird, Lee Ungerich, Andrew Stanton? And I'm going to tell you straight up, yes, I do. All four of the films that he's done under Pixar, to me, are masterpieces, and Soul is no exception. Beautifully animated, of course. The detail that goes into these films that Pixar does just gets better and better as their films progress. As their time progresses, these films just look just as gorgeous as the previous one. Jamie Foxx, perfect as Joe. Every actor in this, wonderful. Trent Reznor and Agus Ross's score. I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't win an Oscar this year, I'm going to be shocked, because they have this and Mank. One of them has to win. It has to happen. Make it happen! There's a quote said in Soul that is just so meaningful to life that I cannot talk about this movie without talking about the quote. So I'm just going to pull up the quote right now. Life is full of possibilities. You just need to know where to look. Don't miss out on the joys of life. You got to be grateful for what you have in life. And you have so much time to start finding who you really are as a person. And this movie showcases that wonderfully. Joe is a middle school band teacher who just wants to make it big, be in this jazz group. He loves jazz.
You like jazz?
He wants to follow his dream. But as the movie progresses, he starts to realize so many things about him. And it's really riveting to watch. The comedy hits, the drama hits, the animation is gorgeous, the voice cast is top-notch, directing, writing, all wonderful stuff. I want to give a shout-out to Kemp Powers, who co-directed this movie. He also was one of the screenwriters for this film, and he is actually the guy who wrote the screenplay for one of my honorable mentions, One Night in Miami. So I'm really happy that his career is blossoming in the world of film, and I cannot wait to see what else he does. I thought that this film was just so moving. I really got emotional. And again, Pete Docter, all the films he's directed for Pixar are incredible, and he just continues to do good. This is probably going to win the animated feature Oscar. I'm not going to complain if it wins, although it would be nice for a film like Wolfwalkers to receive that recognition. But hey, these are both great films. Soul is great. Keep supporting animation. Pixar, keep doing original stuff. It sucks that I didn't get to see this in theaters, but I'm very fortunate that I got to watch this in the comfort of my home with my family on the beautiful 4K TV. I adore Soul. Alright, top 3. Here we go. The winner, in my opinion, for the most effed up film I saw this year, Possessor. Hands down, this was the most effed up film I watched in 2020. Brandon Cronenberg directed this. He's the son of the legendary David Cronenberg. And He had directed a film prior to this that I haven't seen, so I can't give my opinion on it. So this is the first time I saw Brandon Cronenberg's filmmaking style. You could see elements of his father incorporated here, but you could clearly tell he's trying to do his own thing. He's not trying to be a carbon copy of his dad. He's trying to do his own thing. This film is so insane. It is so terrifying. It is so brutal. But I was absolutely blown away from start to finish. Andrea Riseborough continues to showcase why she is a phenomenally gifted actress. If you haven't seen her in films like Birdman, Mandy, and now this, I mean, this woman is a chameleon of an actress. There's probably other films that I forgot to list up. I mean, listen, if the girl wants to continue doing effed up films, I'm totally down for it. I could totally see her being the queen of effed up movies for sure. Christopher Abbott also deserves a shout out. He is incredible in this film. The concept of having these people go inside the minds of other people to assassinate other people is so unique and so cool. I went into this film knowing nothing about the plot. I didn't see a trailer. I just saw images and I'm like, okay, I'm sold. Because I saw that image on the poster and I'm like, I have to watch this now. So I rented it and I watched it on my new 4K TV and it looked, first of all, gorgeous in 4K. It was actually one of the first 4K Blu-rays I bought. I actually just purchased it just a few days ago at the time of this recording. I really love sci-fi horror, and when it's super effed up, I respect it. Listen, I need more effed up sci-fi in my life. This was absolutely incredible, and I couldn't stop thinking about it when it ended. The cast, the directing, the imagery, gorgeous. So much practical effects. Very little CGI. It's so seamless. It's so impressive. Brandon Cronenberg, dude, I'm hyped to see what you do next. I'm so hyped. This film was incredible. It's so good, but it's so weird. But I like that. I love it. Promising Young Woman. Carey Mulligan's performance, my favorite performance of the whole year. You know, for a film that tackles this subject, I was so shocked by how funny the film was, how serious the film was, how informative the film was, and how mind-bending of a film it was. This was unpredictable the whole time. And I thought I saw things coming. I was like, okay, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. This is going to be how this goes down. And I was completely wrong. Every time. One of the best directorial debuts of the year, hands down. The directing and the writing by Emerald Fennell is so awesome. For a film that tackles this disgusting subject, and for it to be funny, bold, intense, thought-provoking, clever, smart. I was shocked the entire time. I love being caught off guard. I love when films are unpredictable. This film was just so awesome to watch. The ending, everyone has been so divided on it, but I was blown away by the ending. I thought it was an awesome way to end the film. I really, really, really loved Promising Young Woman. I'm happy I saw it on the big screen. The imagery, it looks like you're in the candy store. It's so cool. Everyone does a great job in the cast. The ensemble here is awesome. It consists of so many wonderful actors. The music here, too, great soundtrack. And that's why Promising Young Woman is my number 2. It was really tough because this film was battling with my number 1 as the number 1 film. But I kept going back and forth, and I was like, I think that this is the one that stuck with me the most this year. And objectively, it could change anytime. Maybe down the road, I could be like, oh, Promising Young Woman is actually my number 1 of 2020. Or this particular film is going to be stuck as my number 1 of 2020. So we'll have to see. But for right now, my favorite film of 2020 goes to... So ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, my favorite film of 2020 is Palm Springs. Now, it's very rare for me to put a comedy as my favorite film of the year, especially when it's a romantic comedy, because I'll tell you right now, I don't really like rom-coms at all. I love comedy, but I'm not a big rom-com fan. However, when they're good, they're really, really good. My thing with Palm Springs that makes it my favorite film of the year is that, one, it was the film that I thought about the most throughout the entire year. Two, when I watched it, it left me in such a good mood because at that time when this came out, I was so depressed. I was at a very low point in my life. I didn't have a job at that point. I was just doing very dead-end jobs. I was door dashing. I was working for a funeral home and everything. So I was really not out a lot, doing really anything. When I watched the film, first of all, it did what a comedy should do. It made me laugh a lot. But what I was not anticipating was how clever it was going to be, considering the fact that it was another stuck in a time loop movie. And we've had so many of those movies throughout the past 30 years at this point. I mean, Groundhog Day is the one that everybody thinks about right away, because that's the first, like, really big one that comes to play. And then we have films like Source Code, Edge of Tomorrow, Happy Death Day, and now we have Palm Springs, which is a romantic comedy that is set as a stuck-in-a-time loop movie. But this one's really, really smart and very clever, and it tackles a lot of things that I was not anticipating it too. You know, it tackles finding yourself, who you are. You know, these two characters changed so much. Niles and Sarah, played wonderfully by Andy Samberg and Kristen Milotti, whose chemistry with one another is just so moving and so delightful and so much fun. They're two wonderful comedic presence. Andy Samberg's obviously one of the greats we have right now. I love him when it comes to Lonely Island. I loved him on SNL. I'm a big Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan, so I love Andy Samberg. And Kristen Milotti, ever since How I Met Your Mother, I've really been impressed with her track record, but I haven't really seen a lot of stuff with her. And I'm really hoping that this movie gets her more notoriety, because she really is an overlooked talent right now in the industry. And then you have J.K. Simmons here, and he's great because he's J.K. Simmons, and there's a sequence with him and Andy Samberg getting high and doing drugs in a bathtub, and I never thought that my favorite film of the year would contain Andy Samberg and J.K. Simmons doing drugs in a bathtub. That's awesome. That's great. But there's a lot of really moving moments, too, in this film. Once this film progresses and these characters get stuck in the time loop much longer, you learn more about who they are as people, who they were prior to this time loop happening for the two of them. And it leaves you thinking a lot. Like, really thinking a lot about who you are as a person and your morals and all that stuff. And I know that people can look at this film and be like, oh, it's just another stuck in a time loop movie. There's nothing really original about it. Maybe that's the case for some. And listen, if you thought that this was a very unoriginal movie, that's totally fine. That's your opinion, and I respect you for having your own opinion. But to me, this really, really impressed me a lot because it was really entertaining. It was very clever, and it was smart at the same time. It's super subtle with the way it was tackling its themes. It was a 90-minute film, flew by quickly, never bored whatsoever, so engrossing. To me, this was the film I thought about the most this year. I've just couldn't stop thinking about this film after I saw it. And this, to me, was my personal favorite film of 2020. Palm Springs is one of the best comedies of the past 5 to 10 years, in my opinion. And I'm really hoping that this is the sleeper hit of the award season. I hope it just slides in and gets recognized for being a really great movie. Not just a great comedy, but a great movie. Give it a screenplay nom. Let one of the two actors be nominated. Let J.K. Simmons be nominated, for all I care. Let the film get nominated for Best Picture. That would be awesome. Comedies get nominated every so often. Let this be an exception. Palm Springs is my favorite film of 2020. So that is it with my list, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you didn't like my list, that's totally fine. That's your opinion. Just be nice, okay? Be nice to one another. We've had a terrible first week of 2021, so we're really hoping that the rest of the year will be good. We all have to be nice to one another. We all have to support one another. We all have to be good towards the people that we have in our lives. If people are good to you, be good to them. I'm really hoping that 2021 is a great year. I'm really, really hoping for a great year because 2020 was a massive letdown. Here's to hoping that 2021 is great. Will I make more content this year? I don't even know. We'll have to see what happens. But for those of you who have stuck with me, thank you so much for sticking with me. Let me know down below your favorite films of 2020. Let me know some films that you recommend that I haven't seen. Please tell me your favorite films of the year, the films that stuck with you the most as fans of film and as people. I would love to hear what you guys thought of the year 2020 when it came to film. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.